Oh, good. I'd like to thank you all. I'd like to welcome everyone here today. My name's Shawn Saulnier. I don't have the privilege of being Finnish or being married to a Finnish person either. However, I have had a great pleasure getting to learn about the community, the culture, the opportunities around language, and I've had a chance to go to Finland a couple times this year and just fallen in love with the place. It's my honor today. I'm a member of the Albany Club to welcome you here, and just a little bit about the Albany Club. It was set up by our Prime Minister, the first Prime Minister of Canada, Sir John A. Macdonald. You'll notice pictures and statues and tributes to him all around, some humorous. We have a lot of fun. We have his bar chits on the fourth floor from 1860, 70, 80, 90, $10, $20 chits that would probably be worth $10,000 today. He was a prolific drinker, and we have a lot of fun with that too. This club was set up by him in 1863, and it has continued to serve all of this time. The building's changed a little bit over time. But we have a lot of functions here, and it's a pleasure to have many representatives of the Finnish community here today. And I would, rather than recognizing everyone, because I know other people are doing that, I would just like to bring up the chairperson for the Canadian Friends of Finland, Dr. Sheila Embleton, to take it from here.
That's actually the Canadian Friends of Finland Education Foundation, because Tuuli McCulley is the chair of the Canadian Friends of Finland, but the two organizations are obviously very closely related. And in fact, the Canadian Friends of Finland Education Foundation, in effect, spun off from CFF in the early 90s with the sole purpose of raising money to support the Finnish Studies program at the University of Toronto. Now, over the years, over the 20-some years, 2 decades, that's exactly what we've done. And we've done it through all kinds of fundraising events, through generous donations from many different people, mostly individuals, but also occasionally companies as well. And we have managed, in conjunction with different partners over the years, the University of Toronto and the Finnish government, to sustain the Finnish Studies program on that basis. But our goal now is to sustain the program by endowing the chair, which is obviously central to the whole program, to endow in perpetuity that chair of Finnish Studies. And in order to do that, we have launched a fundraising campaign. And so I think, in a way, we've never had as much support, as much outpouring of people saying, yes, this is the time, we really need to do this, it's crucial, as we have had now in the last little while, in the last few months. And I think that's shown in a number of ways by, for example, the presence here today of all of you, but also much of the leadership of this particular campaign. I'm just going to briefly point to a couple of people, and then they'll all be introduced more fully later. But our international campaign chair, and just before I say anything more about that, let me just say that's also a departure, international campaign, we're trying seriously to raise money in Finland as well as in Canada. So this represents a new approach for us. So our international campaign chair and former Prime Minister of Finland, Esko, more will be said in a moment, but also the extremely strong support in every possible way, including facilitating and making links for us, of Canada's ambassador to Finland, who's come from Helsinki for this and other events in these couple of weeks, Chris Shapardanov here, and also Finland's ambassador to Canada, Charles Murto. And my notes say incoming ambassador, but he presented his credentials 2 days ago, so he's official. So welcome. And apparently his first ever trip to Toronto. Now, we look forward, of course, to welcoming you again in perhaps another capacity in a different type of event. But we're really delighted that this is probably one of the very first events you have attended in your new official capacity. So thanks so much for making the time and coming. So I think we'll hear more about the project later, but let me just say that we have over the years raised over $1 million, one way or another, to sustain the chair. But now we have a much higher goal, and that is to endow in perpetuity this chair of Finnish Studies. So at this point then, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Esko Aho, who is, as I just mentioned, our international campaign chair. You all know that he is a former Prime Minister of Finland, 91 to 95. So it's interesting that they have prime ministers that young in Finland. But anyway, I think he'd probably finished high school before he did it. But it's not clear from the resume. But he ran for president actually in 2000, narrowly missed apparently. But he later went to Harvard as a lecturer, and then later, after retiring from the Finnish Parliament, he worked as a consultant. He worked in many different capacities, and I'm not going to list them all, but in particular, he's a former president of the Finnish Innovation Fund called Sitra, and that's a very important role. Later, he was an executive vice president, corporate relations and responsibility, at Nokia, and oversaw the company's global policies and activities regarding sustainable development, something I think we all resonate with, and social responsibility. He's just recently left Nokia in that role, but still is a consultant, I suppose, consultative partner with Nokia, and still key therefore to Nokia. But he is also currently a senior fellow at the Center for Business and Government at Harvard University's Kennedy School. And so it's my pleasure to welcome you to this event and to thank you very much for your support, which has been key to our success. Thank you.
I have good reason to say excellencies, because you know that when ambassadors are present, they are excellencies, so I can use in a plural form that today. Ladies and gentlemen, hyvät naiset ja herrat, mukava nähdä teidät kaikki täällä Torontossa, joka on tullut mulle tutuksi paikaksi viimeisten kuukausien aikana. Taitaa olla niin, että olen nyt 5. kertaa tänä vuonna Torontossa. So I was just saying that this is very nice occasion to come to meet you here, and it has been a great pleasure to be here. 5th time this year, I think I'm here in Toronto. So I'm going back and forth all the time. This week this is second visit to Canada. I was early this week in Ottawa, and now here in Toronto. I have to tell you a story when this is a place of prime ministers, and I was introduced as a former prime minister. Prime ministers are powerful, but they have limits of capacity. I remember that when I was just nominated to Prime Minister, and first visit is always made to Sweden, and that happened in 1991, and we had a luncheon hosted by the King and Queen of Sweden, and that was a big news in Finnish media for sure, and our that time 4 years old daughter was looking at in TV how we were there in Stockholm, hosted by the Kungliga Paret, and then we returned home, and when we came to our home yard, I saw that there are rubber boots on the road, and Elina, our daughter, was staying there, and I said to him and asked him, take them away immediately because car was not able to go. And she was looking at me and said, Dad, I'm not listening to you anymore because you are only Prime Minister, you are not a king. and that was an important message for a young Prime Minister to understand that your power is not unlimited. When I was asked to join this effort, I had many reasons to say yes. Personal reasons, I have always been excited about Canada, what Canada is doing, and in that sense, I feel at home when I'm here in Canada. But also when looking at these two nations, we have a lot of common. We have a big neighbor, both, that has created some challenges, positive and negative challenges. Secondly, we are Arctic or subarctic countries. We have a lot of common because of that geographic location. And also when looking at business opportunities between Finland and Canada, I can see a lot of potential in today's world. And our economies are very much complementary. I think that only a little of this potential has been used. And then I also I saw that there is great excitement around this exercise locally, which is very important if you want to get something to be done. You have to have people who really believe that this is an important exercise and effort, and they are committed and they have passion to get this through. And that's why I decided that I'm joining, and I hope that you will join as well in a way or another. I hope that you can give your support for this effort. It is not about Finnish language or Finnish culture, but it is, I think, generally about collaboration between Finland and Canada. Language plays a critical role in that, and that's why it's in the core of this effort. And thank you so much for both ambassadors. You have given strong support for this fundraising effort, and we need your help in the future as well. I'm very optimistic that we can get things done, but it doesn't happen without your support. Thank you.
Thanks very much, and you've clearly been instrumental in drawing this initiative to the attention of the highest circles in both Canada and Finland, so we're very grateful for your leadership and support. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our next special guest, which is Canada's ambassador to Finland, so Chris Shapardanov. And just a few quick words about him. He was appointed as Canada's ambassador to Finland in 2009. He initially began his career as a member of the industry department, but then he moved to external affairs later, actually quite soon after joining the civil service. He served abroad in Washington twice, in Moscow and in Brussels, and he's held a number of senior positions in Ottawa. I won't read through the list, and including in the Privy Council office, so not just in foreign affairs and international trade. As a university person, I can't help but mention that he graduated from the University of Windsor with an honors BA in political science and economics, and also with an MA in international affairs from Carleton in Ottawa. So it's my pleasure. No, not that long ago. I look at my dates, I look at your dates. No, it's not so long. So it's my pleasure to welcome you now.
Vous êtes nice, chers mesdames et messieurs, bonjour, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me to speak to you this afternoon as Canada's ambassador to Finland. I thought I would just say a few words about the relationship and the state of the relationship. Having served in Helsinki for 3 years, I would say that the relationship is quite good. It's operating at a very high level. We've had high-level visits, foreign ministers exchanged visits in 2010. Right now I'm working with Ambassador Murto on the visit of the Finnish Justice Minister, Henriksson, who will be meeting in Ottawa with her opposite number, Minister Nicholson, and other people. The relationship on the trade side is very active. I like to call it the $3 billion relationship. We have about $1 billion in two-way trade. We have about $1 billion of Finnish money invested in Canada and about $1 billion of Canadian money invested in Finland, mainly in the mining sector. Some of the more leading-edge elements of the relationship, Mr. Aho mentioned the Arctic. Of course, the Arctic is a foreign policy priority of the Government of Canada. You will have seen that the Arctic Council will be chaired by Canada starting in May of 2013, and we intend to be a very active chair of the Arctic Council, and we'll be working with our Finnish counterparts to develop that chairmanship. But you may be also interested to know that the Government of Canada, as you will have seen, is building a large polar class icebreaker, the John G. Diefenbaker. Mr. Diefenbaker's picture is outside this very room here. But I think the Finnish angle to this is that the Diefenbaker is being designed in Helsinki, Finland, at the Aker Arctic facility. So when Canada needs ice-capable vessels, we turn usually to Finland to give us to play a strong role in that. And Finland is interested in a major Canadian initiative that you probably are not aware of. There's something called the Polar Communications and Weather Satellite that's being developed by the Canadian Space Agency. And actually, I was in Montreal a couple of days ago, and I went to the Space Agency outside of Montreal, and the idea of this satellite is to provide increased bandwidth in the polar regions, and that's critical if we're going to develop the northern and circumpolar areas of Canada. And of course, this is something that Finland is interested in as well because of the similar climatic conditions. Donc, je voudrais assurer que les relations entre les deux pays sont d'une très bonne qualité. Et je voudrais aussi saluer les efforts de Monsieur Aho. It's very appropriate that we're in this building where I guess you can sense the spirit, I guess, or the presence of one of the most important fathers of Confederation, Sir John A. Macdonald. And Esko has heard me talk about this before. I like to refer to Esko as a father of Europe. Because it was under his leadership. Well, yes, but he keeps responding in this way, and I keep assuring him that history will treat him kindly, because we believe, Canada that is, believes in the European project, and we're confident that it will succeed. So I think we're very privileged to have the former Prime Minister lead this effort, and not only I would like to thank him for that, but I would also like to thank him for his personal interest in Canada, and specifically the work he's doing on innovation. I think you will all have seen that in the ranking of the most competitive countries in the world. If you'd like me to go through them, I will. Number 1 is Switzerland, number 2 is Singapore, number 3 is Finland, and the number 9 country is the United States, and the number 13 country is Canada, and the number 14 country is China. So I think that says we have some work to do, and to me, this is why our relationship with Finland is very important, because Finland clearly is one of the most innovative countries in the world, and we, Canada, let's say, have to raise our game on innovation, and I think Finland can help us out a lot, and Mr. Aho is doing very practical work in that, and I want to salute you for that, so thank you very much. I'd also like to welcome to Canada Ambassador Charles Murto. We've had some very good meetings in preparation for his assignment here, and I look forward to continuing the excellent partnership I had with your predecessor during your tenure here in Canada and in Ottawa. So welcome again, Charles. It's a bit of a no-brainer for me, Sheila, to support this initiative, in the sense that I see this effort as a foundational aspect of the bilateral relationship. As we were discussing earlier, the people that go through this program will be the architects, the drivers of this relationship. So as ambassador, you have my total support. I'm very proud that the initial dinner to launch this event happened at the Canadian residence in Munkkiniemi, the beautiful residence that we have there. So I wish you all every success in your individual endeavors, and I hope collectively we manage to give this a very solid launch for the future success of this very important bilateral relation. Thank you. Merci. I'm remiss in not introducing my new colleague, Ambassador Charles Murto. Ambassador Murto has a very distinguished diplomatic career, which began in Spain and continued all the way through places like Madrid and Paris and Canberra and other areas, and also in the most senior levels of the Finnish government. He most recently was the National Security Advisor at the Foreign Ministry. So, Mr. Ambassador Charles Murto, welcome.
Monsieur l'ancien Premier ministre, Mr. Ambassador, distinguished hosts, arvoisa juhlayleisö, olen todella hyvin iloinen siitä, että saan aloittaa tehtäväni suurlähettiläänä Kanadassa tällaisessa merkittävässä tapahtumassa täällä Torontossa. Je vous remercie beaucoup pour votre invitation et je suis ravi d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. I understand from my instructions in Ottawa, having presented credentials the day before yesterday, that's always important to say a few words in French as well. So I think I did that. Now I said a few words in Finnish. But I really want to say that Finland and Canada have certain similarities, and both are northern and Arctic countries. We share common political and social values, but I think that first and foremost there is an affinity between Finnish and Canadian mentalities, and I saw this when I was preparing to assume my post. Whenever I told Finnish people, whether in government or in business or in the cultural sector, that I was coming to Canada, their eyes lit up and they said, that's a great place to really work and live. So I think this affinity is very important, and it's also something that actually comes to light, not least in our passion, our common passion for ice hockey. These common traits that we have offer an excellent opportunity to promote further cooperation, and of course if you look at different sectors, Finland views Canada as a very rich and developed country that offers huge opportunities for Finnish companies. I think the Arctic technologies were already mentioned. Also clean tech, energy solutions, shipbuilding, nanotechnology, mining, shipbuilding. These are all possible areas of further cooperation, and actually the Finnish government has set up an action plan for Canada. This was done in late 2011, and this is an excellent platform for me to work on. But in order to realize all these projects, we need people, and I think this is where the University of Toronto and the Canadian Friends of Finland very much come into, and representing the Finnish government in Canada. I would like to stress the importance of the Finnish Studies program at the University of Toronto as the only program in North America designated as a center of excellence by the Finnish government, more specifically by its Center of International Mobility, more commonly known as CIMO. The program began as a joint initiative of the Finnish government, the University of Toronto, the Canadian Friends of Finland. Since the very beginning, it has played a key role not only in the advancement of Finnish studies as an academic discipline in North America, but also in terms of cultivating a reflective and rich sense of community amongst members of the Finnish diaspora in Canada, which number 130,000 strong. I believe that there are many more people in Canada who have Finnish ancestry, as Finns actually did come over to to North America already in 1638, which is a long time ago. Such a successful program is an excellent investment, and it deserves to be funded in perpetuity, an initiative certainly that the Finnish government supports. I'm delighted that this is my first public appearance as Finland's ambassador to Canada, and I wish you every success in your efforts to raise funds for this extremely worthy cause. Thank you very much.
So I'd like to thank both Your Excellencies for your remarks. You're both key to us as advocates and connectors, really, as we build our relationships with the community and achieve our goal. So now I'd like to turn more towards the Finnish Studies program itself and introduce to you two people, but one after the other. So I'll introduce first Dr. Börje Vähämäki and later Dr. Pia Päiviö. But first Börje, to speak a bit about the Finnish Studies program at the University of Toronto. Now, Börje is probably the one person in this room who actually doesn't need an introduction at all, so I will be brief. He's born in Finland, in Vaasa, and his degrees are from Åbo Academy in Turku. He was a number of places before coming to Toronto, Stockholm and Minnesota as professor, but he came in 1989 to the University of Toronto and was the first holder of the chair in Finnish Studies. He's, of course, done many things over those years, and I'm not going to go through all of that, but he has been tremendous, I think, actually, in the way he's been able to link with the community and with people in general. Expertise in linguistics, in literature, cinema, folklore, and this has, I think, enabled the program to broaden out and reach out as best it could. It could so easily at the beginning have just been and remained a narrow language and linguistics program, but it reached out, and this is what's really made the difference and what we want to continue in that relationship with the other disciplines at the university. So to add to all of that, he's also a translator and publisher. So let me introduce now Börje.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, hyvät naiset ja herrat. I guess I'm preaching to the converted if I speak about the praises of the Finnish Studies program. But I think it's still something that we may want to stop and think about. What is it about Finnish Studies that makes it worthwhile in Canada, although we've heard so many good things already? In addition to the usual arguments in favor of academic, language, literature, and culture programs, that each academic discipline needs and deserves to be included in universities that pride themselves of commitment to diversity and excellence, like University of Toronto does. But why is Finland interesting? Why is Finnish Studies interesting in Canada at the University of Toronto? Finland's history is extremely interesting, particularly in the 20th century, but also in earlier periods. The Finnish language is exotic and different. People come to study Finnish because it has 15 cases and every verb has 128 different forms. Takes about 3 years to get all of those. Finnish culture is rather unique. It's a bilingual country, as is Canada. Finland is, as is Canada, a northern country, providing a number of common interests, including indigenous issues that we think, for instance, the mining companies should become more aware of the sensitivities of ecology in northern Finland and so forth. Not that we can do too very much about that ourselves. Finland has one of the major contributions to world epics in the Kalevala. It might sound to Finns as, oh, Kalevala again. as everybody comes back to the Kalevala. But look at the world epics that are of great magnitude. Take the top 6, and Kalevala is one of the top 6 in the world. Contributions to literature, of course. Alexis Kivi, Minna Kant, Frans Emil Sillanpää's Nobel Prize winner, Väinö Linna, Tuve Jansson's Moomins, and right now the sizzling creativity of Sofi Oksanen with Purge, with Puhdistus. Finland is the leading country in education. Pasi Sahlberg is a virtual guru in education. He was interviewed 3 times in a 1-hour program on CNN what the US should do in education. They asked just Pasi Sahlberg, what should we do? Well, he's the leader of SIMO in Finland, so in case you didn't remember. Finland is among the top 3 countries in the world in international PISA studies in literacy, in math, and in science. Wow. The Finnish wonder. Initially maybe fueled by Nokia. But Finland has, over the last 20 years, cemented its position as one of the highest ranking nations in the European Union, and also by measurement of the quality of life. So the chair of Finnish Studies at the University of Toronto, the Finnish Studies program, strives to bring these aspects to the world in language and culture courses, in seminars and symposia, in conducting active research in Finnish studies, organizing special programs and events, and by extensive cooperation within the university with other disciplines, but also with other relevant programs in North America and to an increasing extent in Finland. Thank you very much.
So it's my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Pia Päiviö, who since Börje's retirement in 2009 has been the professor at the U of T. So she's born in Finland, in Järvenpää. She studied in California, St. Mary's College, and received a BA in Fine Arts and Art History while playing basketball. And also has degrees, BA, MA, and PhD from the University of Turku in Finland. So her subjects in various degrees here, different things, but Finnish language and translation, Finnish language and literature, Finnish linguistics. So you can again see with the breadth, she's a very good person to hold this particular chair, especially she's also interested in film, which has come to be one of the great successes of the program. Like Börje, she has also won teaching awards, and so that's also, I think, pretty crucial in the momentum behind the program. So, Pia.
Yes, we have heard now many reasons why this program is important, and they're all very good. I thought today, because we already heard about the importance of the curricula and also what's in our curricula, shortly talk about the students. It's amazing what kind of students I get. I guess the word has gone around that Finnish is no easy thing to learn because I only get the best of the best. So that's for me the easiest job on earth because they do anything I would like them to do. This of course means that whoever graduates from the Finnish Studies program as a Finnish major is a good student to recruit to work life. So you might want to keep that in mind and also keep, in a way, your eyes towards the Finnish Studies program graduates. When I arrived to the Finnish Studies program of Toronto, the curricula was already very well built. I didn't have to really add anything. Because of my history, I did add translation because for those who want to learn the Finnish language well and maybe go to Finland or have relationship with Finland, or work for companies who have relationships with Finland, the language skills are essential. Translation course is something that very heavily deepens your skills. I thought that because the curricular was already so good, my best contribution to the program would be that I would raise enrollments. We have a huge Finnish community in Canada, and of course from that community a certain amount of people come to the program. But also it is essential that we attract to the normal Canadians, the ones who don't have the Finnish diaspora or Finnish heritage background. So that is what I've been doing for the last 3 years, and we have succeeded fairly well. This year might be the year that we have over 100 students, because already for the fall term I have 54. And in the spring there is one course that will bring a lot of students, namely Scandinavian literature, that we are offering. So that is something that I thought is essential to the program, that we don't only support the Finnish heritage and the Finnish diaspora, but also involve other students, as many as possible, to become majors and minors in the program and eventually graduate from it. Finnish heritage, after all, comes almost naturally to us, especially now when it's 6th or 7th generation. The desire to know about your roots is in a different level than I think it was on the 2nd and the 3rd generation. Now, if we think about today's youth, one good thing is that they are very focused. I don't know if it's the financial situation of the parents or of the world, but they come to university as a first-year students and they know already quite a lot that I didn't expect them to know. Not about the subjects, but about what I'm going to be, what I'm going to want to do. And a lot of students come first year to me and they already know, okay, I'm going to do this BA here, and then I'm going to go to Finland and do my master's there, or I'm going to do this and that and this and that, and I'm going to have a double major, but I want to be a Finnish major. So this is what is now the interesting times, in a way, that we get students that have a lot of interest, and the youth today is looking for something exotic. They want to stand out. They don't want to do the normal business major. They don't want to do your political science. They want to have something in the CV that when they have a job interview, the interviewer will say, "Oh, do you speak Finnish?" And then they talk about that, and this guy will remember him. So they already know all this. They come to me saying, "This is what I want to do." So maybe that's why the program is also, like some other small programs in Toronto, University of Toronto, it's growing. It's growing in a nice pace. So what I want to do is I want these newcomers, these Canadians, these non-heritage Finns, to mingle with the heritage Finns. And they will all learn from each other, and I will offer all of them something. So now the Finno-Ugric linguistic course that used to be pure linguistics is a political linguistics course about endangered languages, and we concentrate on Sami. So we get much more students like that, and they are really interesting and they are fired up about learning. So this is basically what the program is doing now, and I want it to continue that way. I only wish that we get to continue, and I only wish that we get a little bit of more courses that we can offer each year, so that the program could be even better than it is today. Thank you.
So thank you very much, both Pia and Börje. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our final speaker of the afternoon, an alumna of the Finnish Studies program, Rachelle Pascoe-Deslauriers, who's originally from Chatham, Ontario, and graduated with an honors BA with distinction in Finnish Studies and Equity Studies in 2008 from the University of Toronto. While she was a student, she was the recipient of some of our CFF scholarships, the Marta Maria Ahoencio Scholarship in 2006 and the Raja Kokko Humanitarian Award in 2007. She then went on to develop and coordinate a new immigrant services program as the Immigrant Settlement Services Coordinator for a nonprofit organization in Chatham, before moving to Scotland to join her Finnish partner. And let me emphasize one word in this next phrase, whom she met after she had begun to study Finnish. I think we often think they meet first and that's then why they study Finnish, but no, this is after she had begun to study Finnish.
Good investment.
Right. So then in Scotland, she completed a Master of Letters with high distinction in management. She's currently working on a PhD in human resource management at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow. And she's looking at the employment transitions of displaced public sector workers in the middle of the occupational structure and their transition back into the labor market. Rachelle.
Yeah. I just whispered to Professor Vähämäki too bad I can't go back and take a couple more classes. But thank you, Dr. Embleton, Honorable Mr. Aho, Mr. Ambassadors, Professors Vähämäki and Xavier, dear friends. It's really an absolute pleasure to be here today and to be able to share my enthusiasm about the Finnish Studies program with you. As mentioned, I graduated from the University of Toronto with a Bachelor of Arts with a double major in Equity Studies and Finnish Studies in the class of 2008. When I found the Finnish Studies program, I didn't have any Finnish relatives or even a connection to Finland. And I'm even a little bit embarrassed to say that I can't be sure whether or not I could have placed Finland on the map. But let's just be clear, I can now. And I've even gained some Finnish in-laws. The short version of how I came to be in the Finnish Studies program is that I couldn't do a major in Estonian studies, only a minor. But the longer and the more sincere version is that I came to the University of Toronto looking for new challenges. And when political science and history and other large programs failed to spark my imagination, I looked elsewhere. The Finnish Studies program provided me with an opportunity to engage in an in-depth case study of Finland through courses related to literature, folklore, cinema, language, and history. Beyond that, I got to engage in more contemporary debates of Finnishness and about Finland's role in the broader global community through one of my favorite courses, actually, the Finnish-Canadian Immigrant Experience. And then my experience was further enhanced by a year at the University of Helsinki, where among other classes, I got to learn about minority language rights for Swedish-speaking Finns and for the Sami. And I learned about issues that weren't dissimilar to ones from my own background as a French-speaking Canadian from outside of Quebec. But that's needless to say that these issues are not just pertinent to Canada and Finland, but are really relevant around the world. Throughout my time as an undergraduate student, I really heard to no end, what are you going to do with a degree in Finnish Studies and Equity Studies? Well, I'm proud to say that after graduation, I returned to my home community, and like was mentioned, I actually developed a program for newcomers and immigrants, and I was able to apply the things that I had learned about culture and heritage and the experience of the Finnish diaspora in rural parts of Canada when reaching out to newcomers in my own rural community. So I currently live in Scotland. I moved there to join my husband Juuso, and I'm working on a PhD in human resource management at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow. My present research is about the employment transitions of displaced public sector workers, and I have to say that that research has really been shaped by my background in Finnish studies. I've continued to read extensively about Finnish institutions in the Finnish welfare state, and because what my research is really about is that interaction between institutions and individuals, and Finland's a great example of that. My PhD supervisor, she often refers to my undergraduate degree as my Renaissance education. And while perhaps it's a unique subject of study, my undergraduate degree did equip me with the lateral, analytical, and critical thinking skills, as well as an appreciation for culture, history, and the arts. The program offered an avenue to develop those critical skills that we expect and we demand of our university graduates. Beyond the interesting content day after day, the wonderful people, and the excellent teaching faculty, the Finnish Studies program gave me a community in which I could belong, and it's given me a connection to Finland that seems to reemerge time and time again in both work and in my personal life. So I just want to thank you for the invitation to be here. I really wholeheartedly support this campaign, so I wish it the best of luck. So,
So thanks very much, Rachelle. In fact, thanks to all of our speakers. This actually concludes the formal part of the program, but we hope that the speeches have given you a sense of the importance of the program, the timeliness of this initiative, and that you will wish us all the best of luck. Please make sure that you do have a chance to stay and mix and mingle, but especially to meet our 3 guests of honor this afternoon.
Can I ask a question?
So thank you very much. Okay, I guess there's a question period, yes.
Once this chair gets on the road and gets to Pia, can you see this going to a master's program eventually?
It can be discussed. Actually, our chair would like that very much. I just had a talk with her, Donna Orwin. She would like to expand the program in the future to master's degree. Of course, we would need probably support from CIMO to have a lecturer and maybe another professor. But yes, why not?
I think, in fact, there are many things one can do as soon as one has this core, this core of the chair there, because not only is it the core, but it's also the permanence that's there, which then enables the other kinds of planning. So whether it's masters, who knows, maybe even doctorate, but reaching out even further into the university and, of course, the community in other ways. So whether it's reaching out through, journalism, for example, or through online. I mean, there are so many things that could be done, but it requires that solidity of the and permanence of the core.
And there are many Finnish heritage or Finnish background professors at the University of Toronto. So maybe one could have more cooperation in order to have more height in the program too.
And remind everybody, of course, that the U of T also has the Hart House Exchange program, which has been going for many, many years, and is another link and another way in which students get to Finland, and of course vice versa, as well as the Massey College journalism fellows and so on. So there are many, many things can be done with the solidity and permanence of the chair.
And to credit Finland, these Hart House Exchange students normally come to Finnish language course after they've been to Finland, not before. So that's also something.
So anyway, thanks again, everybody, for coming. Those who spoke, thank you again for your excellent speeches. And it's time to mix and mingle a bit more. Thanks.